By the middle of the 4th century BCE, the Persian Empire remained the largest political entity in the known world, stretching from the Aegean coast to Central Asia. Yet despite its size, the empire was no longer stable. Internal power struggles, revolts in Egypt and Asia Minor, corruption among satraps, and weak central control had reduced its ability to respond quickly to external threats. Darius III, who came to the throne after a series of palace coups, lacked the authority once held by earlier Achaemenid rulers. Across the Aegean, the Greek world had spent decades in near constant warfare. The Persian invasions of Greece in the early 5th century BCE had left a lasting memory, particularly in Athens, where the destruction of temples and cities became part of political rhetoric. Although Persia had failed to conquer Greece, it successfully exploited Greek disunity by financing rival city-states, influencing politics, and intervening diplomatically. By the 4th century BCE, Persia was no longer an invading force but an indirect power shaping Greek affairs. Macedon emerged from this fractured environment under Philip II. Through military reforms, diplomacy, and force, Philip unified most of mainland Greece under Macedonian leadership. He presented himself as the leader of a Pan-Hellenic alliance, officially formed to wage war against Persia. The invasion was framed as retaliation for earlier Persian aggression and as a campaign to liberate Greek cities in Asia Minor that had long been under Persian control. This political justification helped legitimize Macedonian dominance over Greece and kept Greek states focused outward rather than rebelling. Philip's assassination in 336 BCE placed Alexander on the throne at a moment of uncertainty. Several Greek cities attempted to break free, and tribal revolts erupted in the north. Alexander crushed these challenges quickly, most notably destroying Thebes, making it clear that Macedonian control would be enforced by force if necessary. With Greece subdued, the invasion of Persia became both a continuation of Philip's policy and a strategic necessity. A large, restless army required employment, and a foreign campaign reduced the risk of rebellion at home. Economic factors were central. Macedon itself was not wealthy enough to sustain a long overseas war without external resources. The Persian Empire, by contrast, possessed enormous treasuries accumulated over centuries. Control of Asia Minor and Persian financial centers would provide the silver and gold needed to pay troops, reward allies, and maintain political stability. Without Persian wealth, Macedonian rule over Greece would remain fragile. Strategically, Persia's western territories were vulnerable. Asia Minor was governed by satraps who often acted independently and relied heavily on Greek mercenaries. Persian naval power was strong, but its land forces were uneven in quality and coordination. Macedonian infantry, especially the phalanx supported by heavy cavalry, represented a more unified and disciplined military system. By securing the coastal cities of Asia Minor, an invading force could deny Persian naval bases and isolate the empire's western defenses. The invasion also reflected long-standing geopolitical realities. Persia had repeatedly interfered in Greek affairs, funding wars and manipulating alliances. From the Macedonian perspective, Persia remained a constant external threat. Eliminating Persian influence in the Aegean would permanently secure Macedon's southern frontier and establish it as the dominant power of the eastern Mediterranean. Alexander crossed into Asia in 334 BCE not in response to a single event but as the result of accumulated pressures: Persian political weakness, Greek resentment, Macedonian expansion, economic necessity, and strategic calculation. The campaign was not initially aimed at destroying the entire Persian Empire. Early objectives focused on Asia Minor and the Aegean coast. However, successive victories, the collapse of Persian resistance, and the flight of Darius III transformed a limited invasion into a full imperial conquest. In this sense, the invasion of Persia was not an impulsive act but the outcome of decades of conflict, rivalry, and shifting power balances between Greece and the Near East. Alexander inherited a plan shaped by his father, executed it within favorable historical circumstances, and expanded it as Persian authority disintegrated. The fall of the Persian Empire was not inevitable, but by the time the Macedonian army crossed the Hellespont, the conditions for its defeat were already in place.